Today's openings begin with Stir Steak Stout from Half Pints Brewing in Winnipeg. They describe it as a medium-bodied coffee stout with notes of dark roast coffee and semi-sweet chocolate. So here we go. Let's get started with this one, which calls itself Power Bank Charger. Pretty lightweight for that. Wonder if it's the components to build one or something. It is 3 little modules. We have a USB-C, we have a 3-position dip switch, and we have 2 terminal outputs here. And based on the little chart on the back, that confirms my suspicion that this is a USB-C power delivery module. So based on how you set the dip switches, you can tell your PD-capable USB power supply to give you 9 volts, 12, 15, or 20. If you wanted 5 volts, you can just take it straight off the USB, I guess, without one of these fancy boards. Over the last while, I've been gathering a variety of different versions of these. They just come in handy for getting a quick source of power at various voltages when you need it. These ones benefit over some other ones that I've got because you don't have to solder jumper pads. On the other hand, the ones with the solder jumper pads, are not going to have a bad switch on them or are not going to get changed or knocked when in use. I'm going to assume that the components that actually do the quick charge negotiation are hiding underneath there. That's wild. PDQC decoy board fast charging trigger board module, USB Type-C high speed charger power delivery boost module charger parts. I got the soldered version with the screw terminals. You can also get the non-soldered version for 5 cents less. And yeah, that's why I chose these ones, because they're less than $1 each. It claims it can pass 5 amps current, limited only by the power supply that's providing it. It supports both power delivery and quick charge protocols. Supports 5, 9, 12, 15, and 20 volts. Although it doesn't call out the 5 volts on the chart on it, so wonder what that's all about. Maybe the 5 volts is just with all of the switches turned off. I guess that would make sense. So let's just try this experiment. With all the switches off, there's 5 volts, 9 volts, 15, there's 12, and there is 20. So that is, in fact, all of the standard voltages between 5 and 20 volts. This doesn't support the PD3, which can go up to, is it 24 or 48 volts? Ridiculously high voltages anyway, but I don't have any chargers that support that anyway. Right, next thing in comes anonymously from my mailbox. It just says components. What have I been sent? Cable strain release grommet things. I got a package of these a while ago, but I think these are a different size for a different wire gauge. That's good. So basically you drill a hole inside of your equipment enclosure, and screw that down, and then loosen that up, push a cable through the bung, and then tighten it down, and as it tightens down, it grips onto the wire by squishing down that little rubbery bit in there with these, and that causes it to grip tightly onto the wire and create a weatherproof seal. These claim to provide an IP68 rated weather seal. So whoever sent me these sent me 10 of them. And if this is anything like some of the previous anonymous things that I've got to my P.O. box, the donor probably bid for something really cheap on eBay that could be interesting and had them shipped directly to my P.O. box. So I don't know exactly which listing these came from, but I'm going to go and search, and I'll give you a search link down below. That was easier than I thought to find. I just searched for PG7 cable gland because PG7 was embossed onto the side of it. And I came up with a whole bunch of different styles, including some that look exactly like the ones that I've got in front of me here. And if I sort the search by price plus shipping lowest, which is how I always do it, you'll see that you can get 5 of them for $1.35 plus shipping, which is super cheap for something as useful as this. Right, next thing in, something I ordered, but it doesn't say what it is. No customs declaration. Interesting. Ah, this is a roll of, it appears to be copper tape. Let's slice a piece off here, because it is pretty thin stuff. And it's just, nice thick backing paper on it. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Self-adhesive copper tape. Yeah, there's no coating on it or anything, so that is just pure copper. Okay. And it is 25 millimeters wide by several meters long by the looks of it. Cool. Single-sided conductive copper foil tape mask electromagnetic shield illuminate EMI anti-static repair adhesive tape. I got the 25 millimeter. It's 10 meters long, and that cost me $7.88 with a little bit of shipping. Although back when I ordered it, it was a little bit cheaper. And here is where it's commonly used, especially in this size, is in electric guitars. Often you'll find it used to line the inside of the control cavity and the back of the pick guard just to create a little shielded cage in there so that interference from dimmers and neon lights in bars and things like that doesn't get picked up in the guitar's electronics. Also good for the same purpose on the inside of, for instance, a 3D printed case for electronics or something like that. Or what I have used it for in the past a couple of times is just to lay out simple circuits on a non-conductive surface, like on a business card or a piece of wood or a piece of glass or something. And then you can actually solder onto the this copper tape with surface mount components and make neat little circuits that way. For example, this little circuit on a Post-it note. Next thing in is another surprise from my P.O. box. Thank you, as always, to whoever keeps donating this stuff. I really do appreciate that. What are you? It is a somewhat squashed in the mail, reflective mode infrared sensor. We've seen these before, and these often come in Arduino starter kits and whatnot on this little board. Essentially what's going on, there is an infrared LED on there and an infrared photo detector. And you can see that there's a little piece of black plastic between them so they can't see each other. But when you are shining it down is often how they're used for line tracking, or at any surface or whatever. If it sees its reflection, then it will send a high signal, a binary high, to the output. And if it doesn't see its reflection, i.e. there's darkness there, for instance, a black line or something like that, then it will send a binary low, and you can tell the presence of stuff. There's a sensitivity control here and a little op amp, I think, set up as a comparator, so you can adjust the threshold. Just set up like a mirror or something, or a reflective surface over there, and if things come between, it shows a beam break. That's another common use for this kind of thing. It's just a useful little detection circuit to add on to your microcontroller projects. There's a few different styles of these, but IR reflective sensor is the search term that tends to find them, or IR sensor Arduino is another option. I'll link you to this search though, and these first two or three are exactly the same one. There you go. So $1.35, $1.36 each. And now the last and largest thing in. This is something that I ordered. It doesn't say what it is because when they seem to be using some local couriers to get the last mile, and they don't have the customs declaration showing on those ones. It's a box. What's in the box? It is a spool of filament, spool of 3D printing filament. Easy3D brand. Oh, this is TPU. TPU is the flexible stuff. It doesn't say on the spool or the label exactly what the what is the rating of flexibility or hardness or whatever. And it doesn't say that. 250 grams of white TPU filament. Looks like about 80 meters long. Okay, so I haven't printed with flexible filament before. I don't want to open the bag because this stuff is quite hygroscopic, and it will absorb water and not print as well, and then I'll have to mess with it and do some dehumidifying. But wow, that is super flexible though. Huh. And since I have just a cheap Ender 3 printer, I don't know if it will be able to print with it or not. So I want to experiment, and of course I don't want to break the bank doing it because that's just me. So, got this. TPU 3D printer flexible filament, 250 grams, 1.75 millimeters, 80 meter length. Available in multiple different colors, of course. I got the white. Currently, they've got it on sale for $16.15. There's no way it's worth $44 though. However, back when I bought it, it was $12.96 Canadian. So deal, I guess. As far as I can tell, is pretty good for a 1/4 kilogram of TPU. The place that I buy filament locally doesn't have anything exotic like this, and most of the other retailers that I found online wanted to sell me a full kilogram of it, which would be a waste if my printer's not capable of dealing with it. Does it say what its flexibility rating is? I don't see it. It does give some useful information though. So you're printing way down. Not suitable for models that are too tall. That's interesting. Printing temperature between 190 and 225, which is pretty close to the normal range for PLA as well. So I shouldn't have any trouble with that on my printer. The problem that I will have is, can this flexible stuff be pushed down the Bowden tube without getting all tangled up and snarled and causing all kinds of problems? I shall have to test it and find out. And there is the contents of today's Mailbag Monday haul. A variety as always. We had a couple of anonymous packages show up, donations to the channel, this reflective infrared sensor, and these neat little cable GANs. Thank you once again to the anonymous donors for supporting the channel. Then we have the things that I ordered, starting with these little USB power delivery trigger boards that will let you turn any USB, either quick charge or power delivery, USB wall wart, I guess, power supply, into a multi-voltage power source. Handy little things to have around. Then there's this copper tape. I did have some much smaller stuff before, but it got used for various things. I think this wider stuff is going to be much more useful, especially for shielding enclosures and stuff like that. Although I can, as you saw, cut it down to narrower strips and use it for making neat little circuits on pretty much any surface you can think of. So the flexible 3D printing filament, that is an experiment, as I said. I've seen mixed messages online whether or not you can actually do flexibles in an Ender 3. Be interesting to find out for myself whether I can do it in my Ender 3. There's enough variation in them because everybody modifies their printers, of course, over time. So be fun to see if that works or if it turns into a massive disaster. And that's everything. Thank you once again to the people who donate stuff to the channel. Thanks also to the people who donate cash using Patreon or YouTube channel members. Always appreciate that as well. It helps keep the air fridge full and helps me buy some of these things without going broke. Questions and comments from anybody who likes down in the comments section as usual. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later. Oh, and if you really like these mailbag videos, there's a whole bunch of them in a playlist up there.